Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. I just tried to make a Politico, but it didn't come out well, so you are all spared the Politico. But since I'm down here with my stuff, take this time to do another MGTOW video. I wanted to address some criticisms and comments that were made in my last Taylor the Fiend video. First of all, I want to say a couple things. I'm very unhappy about the response to the video. I do not like the criticisms I've received. I do not like the downvotes. I mean, look, I think it was one of my worst videos. I think maybe even my worst video. That's still up. I've had worse videos that I've deleted. But I don't like the downvotes because it wasn't that bad. And I don't think that people were downvoting me because they thought the video was bad. I mean, I'm sure they did think the video sucked, but if you think the video, you don't get that many downvotes just from people thinking the video sucked. You get that many downvotes because people really disliked what you said. And there's nothing that I said that anybody should dislike. You know, I mean, everything I said was true. So yeah, and then so I guess I will reiterate the rule of this channel is that you are not allowed to downvote, you are not allowed to criticize anything I say, and you are not allowed to even privately disagree with what I say. And then if you, and I get this response all the time, it's like, well, if that's your attitude, then I'm not going to watch your videos. Makes no difference. If you don't watch my videos, you still are not allowed to disagree with anything I say. So, I mean, that's on you. If you don't want to watch my great content, that's on you. But don't think that because you don't, that means you're allowed to disagree. You're not. This policy will be strictly enforced going forward. I've been more lenient than I should have been on it, but after this last video, I'm going to really crack down on disagreement. So be careful. So anyway, I've mentioned this a million times. It doesn't matter how many times I say it. I know that I'm wasting my breath because it's never going to get through to anybody. But I don't know. I'll say it at least one more time. Why do, if I'm not a MGTOW and I disagree with MGTOW, why do I talk about it? And the answer is because it's a subject that I find interesting, that gets engagement from other people. I mean, that's the main reason. It's got nothing to, it's not that I hate MGTOW. It's not that I think MGTOW is destructive, although I really do, and I'm going to talk about that in this video. But the main reason is it's something I find interesting. If I didn't find it interesting, I wouldn't talk about it. And it's not even just that I find it interesting, it's that I find it interesting and, there's, like I said, there'll be engagement in it. Like, I mean, I find the Eastern Front and World War II really interesting, but if I made videos about that, nobody would watch. So, like when I say something about MGTOW, like it's not that I'm trolling. Like, first of all, I didn't even think anybody was going to respond to this video. I thought it was just going to be my normal viewers, but I got all these people from Taylor the Fiend. I have no idea how they found it because I made a video about Taylor before, and there was no Taylor the Fiend people watching that video. But for some reason, they all found this one. So I don't know if YouTube's changed the algorithm, and I wouldn't be surprised. You know what? This is just a thought, and it's probably not even true, but the thought is maybe since the title had the word coping in it, that YouTube's algorithm said that's a trigger word. Like, we know that people will click on this and respond to with the word coping, so we're going to put that in the feed of people who watch MGTOW vids. I don't know. But so anyway, we'll go to the thing. Absolutely, I do not hate MGTOW. I don't hate MGTOWs, and I don't hate MGTOW. It was Coach Blackpill. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him, but you probably are. Has been like the real MGTOW critic, and he was saying I really do hate MGTOW. And when he said that, he said, I really do hate MGTOWs. That's what he said. And I was really surprised by that because, I didn't agree with MGTOWs, but there's never been anything they've done, even now, that would make me hate them or even dislike them. There might be individual ones who I dislike or at least disagree with, like very strongly disagree with what they're doing. Sorry, let me get this. But I don't hate. 1 second. Hey, have you ever, maybe I might be wrong about this, but have you ever noticed that, this is at least what I think, that men take off their sweatshirts or their shirts by pulling on the back, and that women do this thing where they like cross their arms and grab it on the front? And I don't even know how they do that. I don't know if it's men or women, or maybe I'm just the only one who pulls it over the back, but I don't know. No, I'm still hot. But I'm gonna spare you guys the shirtless thing. So no, I mean, but I think that MGTOW is dangerous for young men, and so I think that and that's kind of like where I get like, so yes, the main reason I talk about it is that it's interesting, but I do have concerns about these older guys who are a completely different stage in life preaching MGTOW to these younger guys. To me, that there's really two big cores of MGTOW, and there's usually a generation gap in between. One is the been there, done that MGTOWs. These are the guys who are, usually either Xers, boomers, or even old millennials like myself. These guys have been in relationships, and frequently they've been in marriages, and frequently they've had kids, and frequently they've been screwed, or at least think they've been screwed in divorce court. These guys have tried the relationship path, and it's just been turmoil for them. So they're like, I'm done, and I'm going to get out of it. And then they like, but, so that's one type. But then there's this other type who are younger people, generally younger. They can be Zoomers, they can be young millennials. But there are some older people in this group, and these are people who haven't really had much or any, romantic experience. These are the people who are frequently taunted by some black pillars, and maybe not even black pillars, just people in general, as MGTOWs, men sent their own way. That these guys, if they could get a woman, they'd have one. They're just essentially incels in denial. I don't think that's accurate, but I don't think it's baseless either. These are the guys who I'm concerned about, and I'm concerned about people, especially in the older group, preying on their insecurities or resentment and telling them to throw in the towel on romantic relationships with women, which would be fine. It would be fine if I thought that these guys could be okay without it. And I don't, okay? Because, I know myself really well. And I've always known, you can watch my older videos about this. I've always known since I was very young, since like at least middle school, all right, that not only did I not want kids, not only did I not want marriage, but I didn't want any type of long-term relationship with a woman. I know that all kids that age say they don't want to get married and they don't want to have kids. And whatever, man, kids say that stuff. And maybe they even mean it when they're saying it. But for me, it was different. It's not that I didn't want to get married and didn't want to have kids and didn't want to have a relationship. It's that I actually actively wanted to not have those things. Like, this was always something that, like, I really wanted to not have. And if you told me, like, you have the choice between dying or being married, getting into a marriage and having kids, I would choose death, because the life would be that torturous to me. So it had, and I've said this before, it had nothing whatsoever to do with women. Okay, it's like if I was gay, I would have said the exact same thing. Okay, it has to do with It's not women that are the problem. It's relationships. I am aromantic and I cannot be in a relationship. And the thought like is just beyond repulsive to me. But here's the thing. Not only are most guys not like me, they're the reverse of me. Most guys, women can be happy, heterosexual women can be happy without a man. Heterosexual men cannot be happy without a woman. Even guys who can't be faithful, who are going to be, cheaters, who are narcissistic, who can't even really love anybody, even those guys need to be in a relationship with one woman to be fulfilled. Or they need to be in like some polygamous thing with just a few women to be fulfilled. If they don't have it, it will not. I mean, it's just a need. And it was actually I think one guy who said something interesting about it was Coach Blackpill, when he was saying he's kind of like me. He said, "Look, I always knew like I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have kids. Family life sounds horrible. It doesn't appeal to me." He said, "But these MGTOW types talking about it, saying stuff like, oh, okay, I can be happy, without a woman, or I don't need a woman and stuff." He said it always sounds to him like people, like they're not being true to themselves. And I totally agree with it. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're not being true to themselves. So that's where the misogyny comes from. Because since they're not being true to themselves, the way they cope is by lashing out and getting angry and, trying to, they're frustrated and they might not even know it, but they're unfulfilled because of that lack of marriage or that lack of a relationship. And then they lash out, attacking women or whatever, attacking women usually. And like I said, it's not really about women. I mean, I'm not a woman, so it makes no difference to me. All right. I'm not a woman. Women don't need my protection, and if they did, they wouldn't get it. Okay. So it makes no difference to me. All right. I'm concerned about the young men who it's hurting. I think Taylor's one of the young men it's hurt. So, all right, let's got the glasses on. That's how bad my eyesight is. That I need to use my glass. I'm so nearsighted that I'm farsighted. I'm so nearsighted that I have to use glasses just to read. Sorry about this. This is something that should have been taken care of before I logged on. But like I said, I was trying to make a politicope, so I forgot about this. Here we go. Oh, here it was right there. Let me. But anyway, a lot of the comments were pretty hostile. Some though they said some interesting stuff that I think is at least worth response. So let's read. Shoot, I got to sort by new. Something you guys should know though: downvoting a video does not hurt the algorithm. What YouTube is looking for is engagement. So if you're against my video and you downvote, you're actually helping me get more views. And if you leave a comment saying like you suck, ballface 8020, you're also helping me get more views, because that's what YouTube wants, engagement. So that's a word to the wise. Okay. So there's this first guy, Martin Galaviz. So I don't know if he's Latino. So hello, Martin, or if you are Latina, hola. Or wait a minute, he could be, even if he's Latino, he could be Brazilian, right? So they wouldn't say hola, they would say, how do you say hello in Portuguese? I don't know. So I'm just, but I don't even know if that's a Latin American name. So anyway, he says this. He says, you mentioned that Taylor was wrong when he said that marriage doesn't favor men, by pointing out that women's life satisfaction goes down and men's goes up. I guess I did kind of say that. I think that's sort of an oversimplification. I wasn't really trying to say that marriage favored men per se. I don't think that that's necessarily true. That would be more of a feminist position. What I was arguing with is the idea that it favors women. Mm. I don't think the data. I think that's inconsistent with what the data show. I don't. So if you're going to say that now, if you say divorce courts favor women, that's a separate issue. But marriage itself does, in practice, does it favor women? And I think the data shows actually the opposite. So I guess what he said was fair. It's just not how I would. It's just not how I would put it. But I see what he's getting at. So he's at least technically correct. Okay, I understand that point, but isn't that flawed as well? If a woman's life satisfaction goes in the opposite of men's, then doesn't that contribute to women cheating on men more often than not? Well, that's kind of the point that I was trying to make, or one of the points that I was trying to make. Now, I don't know the statistics of who's more likely to cheat. I think, and I could be wrong, that it's a. I mean, I want to say that it's about even, but that can't be true. I would assume that women cheat much more often than men. And I would think that there would be two major reasons for that. The biggest reason being that women have a lot more opportunity to cheat. I mean, there's always, like, any woman, no matter what she looks like, almost any guy will fuck her. So there's that always going to be that opportunity. So it's always, whereas, men, it's there's no sex on demand for heterosexual men. The other would be, and this is a smaller thing, and I know this, what I'm about to say could be interpreted as misogynist, but this is something that I've noticed about cheating. Men, when they cheat, tend to just be like, yeah, I cheated. Like, yeah, I cheated, and that's that. So if there's somebody whose conscience won't allow them to cheat, they won't do it. Women will rationalize it and will say, like, talk about why their cheating wasn't really cheating at all. Like, oh, I didn't really cheat, or, he wasn't meeting my needs, so I didn't have a choice. So I think that would make it easier for women to cheat while keeping their conscience. I think that's much less of a reason than the fact that women simply have more opportunity. I don't really know the statistics on it, but so the fact that could women's life satisfaction go down make them more likely to cheat? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But that would be like, so if a MGTOW was going to say something like being in a divorce, one reason that being in a marriage is bad is because your wife is more likely to cheat than you are to cheat on her. And I'd say, well, or that women are more likely to cheat in a marriage than men, so men should avoid marriage. And I would say, well, but you can't just separate the cheating. I mean, look, nobody should cheat, and that's on them. However, we can't deny that unhappiness in a marriage makes cheating more likely for both partners. For both partners, it makes it more likely. So if a wife is unhappy, yes, she is going to be more driven to cheat. So there's two ways to look at it. I mean, I guess, you're putting yourself at more of a risk, but also from a demonizing women perspective, it doesn't really work, because obviously, yes, of course, women are going to be more likely to cheat if they're the ones who are less happy with the marriage, and they're going to be more likely to initiate divorce if they're the ones who are less happy than the marriage. And this doesn't mean that because women are less happy that they're in the wrong, that they're in the right. Absolutely not. I have no question that a lot of times it's women making themselves miserable because they don't know what they have, and they're entitled, and there's just dissatisfaction with life in general these days. I know that shit happens, but I'm just making, I'm just pointing out the fact that it's women whose happiness decreases in marriage, and there's just no way getting around that. You said men make more money married while women start to make less. Yes, that's the statistics do show that. I don't really get it. My assumption is that there's some causation and correlation here. Like, obviously, if I was married and had kids, I'd be dead because I would have killed myself. But I would be making a lot more money because I would have higher bills. So I'd be more driven to work and stuff. Whereas, like, since I don't have anybody who depends on me, I can afford to just kind of like, do the bare minimum to keep the lights on. So men making more money, but I wouldn't necessarily say men have more disposable income. So but it does. I mean, it's just a fact that men do make more. Women make less. Yeah, because women, women when they're married, and there's exceptions. There are exceptions. Are generally not able to devote as much time to a career because they're working on their relationship, their marriage, or their kids, and that's always going to be the first priority for women. That's just how women are. They're very family oriented. They're very child oriented. Again, there are exceptions. There are exceptions. There are times where the dad is the guy who's at home, and the woman is the high earning career woman. Absolutely, it exists. And there are especially in the upper class type ones, women like the Giselles of the world, who are able to like really focus on their career because they can pay for child rearing, which is super expensive. But for people in the middle, for women in the middle, that's not an option, and they've got to really, often make career sacrifices to focus on their family. I mean, not the least of which is having to take 3 months off of work every time you have a kid. So when the divorce happens after she cheats because she was seeking life satisfaction, the courts are more likely to give her a high alimony amount, and worse if the kids are involved. Well, if the kids are involved and you're in divorce court, it doesn't matter what happened. That's not gonna go good for you. That's like I said, divorce court is biased against men, and it's not that bad usually if there are no kids in the picture. But if there are kids who you are legally responsible for, like they're stepkids you adopted or something, or like you weren't really the father, but your name's on the birth certificate, good luck. It's gonna be super biased against you. Now again, I wouldn't take all the horror stories too hard because obviously those are worst case scenarios. It's not always happening like that. The law as written, because I've studied family law, and the law as written, and I know it varies on the state, is actually not that bad. It's not that inequitable, but it's enforced very inequitably. Usually because of these chivalrous boomer judges. So, I mean, yeah, I think all this guy did, though, was talk about, like I said, the need to be careful with marriage, the need to be careful with marriage and having a family with kids. The problem, obviously, is that we all know that MGTOW is not about, being cautious about, having marriage and kids with modern Western laws. We all know that. It's not even about eschewing marriage because of the modern Western laws. MGTOW is about eschewing all romantic relationships with women. Period. Anything less is not MGTOW. So the thing is, like any stuff about marriage in divorce court or child support really is a red herring, because that's not what MGTOW is about. MGTOWs are saying, the MGTOWs aren't telling men don't get married until laws change. They're saying don't have relationships with women because women have been ruined by feminism, or Western women. It's usually against Western women, have been ruined by feminism, or ruined themselves by feminism, and you're better off without them. And that's what I'm objecting to. Let's see what this guy had to say. Next guy, Plasmon19. The reason why my relationships failed is a combination of my choices and the choices of the person I chose to be with. This is something that not a lot of people seem to realize and instead shift the blame. Yeah, I agree with that. The odds that I'll end up in a failed marriage in the country I live in are higher than the odds of me ending up in a successful marriage, regardless of how much effort I put into the relationship. I don't know that that's correct. I think that I think that the concern is real, but statistically, I don't know if that's correct. I mean, you're saying how many marriages ultimately end up in divorce? Like 60%, I think, right? So and then how many of those divorces happen because it was the guy's fault? So I would assume at least half, right? I mean, we know for a fact that 10%, at least 10%, the man initiated it. And I'm not saying those are his fault. I mean, it could be the woman. It could be the woman cheated, or the woman just proved to be too insane. But The but you know, I don't know, but I mean, you think like if 60% of marriages are ending up in divorce, at least some of them have to be the man's fault. I know because I've seen it, and the then so if that would seem to me that if 40% of marriages stay together, and that at least some of the ones, let's just be very generous and say that only 20 percentage points are the men's fault. That would mean that, assuming that you're not going to be at fault, you're not going to do anything to screw the marriage up, that there's only a 40% chance of your marriage failing. Now, that may be enough of a risk that you say, I just don't want to take that risk. But I don't think that it's statistically you can say it's more likely than not. I think it, whether more likely than not, depends on a bunch of things: your income level, the person you marry, how you yourself act. It depends on a lot of things. I think if you choose the right partner, if you do what you're supposed to do, and your life generally goes well, like you guys avoid, well, at least you avoid big health problems, although even that could be, and you don't have like really bad financial problems, that there's a really good chance the marriage succeeds. And again, I wouldn't say like the chances of it not working out are real. And everybody has to decide for themselves how much risk they can take. I don't think but if marriage and family, but particularly marriage, is something that you absolutely need to be happy, then I don't think that this level of risk is enough to stop you from doing it. I think it's a risk you almost have to take. However, I have no problem with people saying it's a level of risk I'm not comfortable with. That's totally legit, absolutely the right move. But I would say that if you're saying that, but at the same time you're watching Taylor the Fiend videos, it means that what that tells me is that inside you are not really okay with that decision you made. So, oh, hold on. He actually said more than that. This is due to statistics and trends. As a trader of equities, it's not wise for me to buy into the market, so I choose not to marry. Okay. This doesn't mean that I resent women who decide to be part of the statistic of promiscuity and divorce rates. Okay. I go with what the market shows. I'll definitely buy into it once the trends reverse, but other than that, I'm staying out of it. And in the meantime, I'll gather assets and live my life happily surrounded by my friends and family. Well, again, that's my concern, right? My concern is that this lifestyle choice is not making you happy. And the evidence would be that, again, that you're watching MGTOW videos, that you're watching Taylor the Fiend type videos. And I'm not like I hope that you are happy. I hope that these people watching MGTOW stuff are happy. So I'm not like hating on anybody or gloating or shit like that. You guys know yourselves way better than I ever could. But me, from the outside, if I see you like watching these videos, and I don't just mean like every now and then, if you watch it, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But if you're watching them regularly, then I have to assume that you are not happy with being single. Until maybe you're even more unhappy than you yourself realize. I don't think that Taylor the Fiend's content is harmful to men or women. I don't think it's harmful to women. I absolutely think it's harmful to men. Absolutely think it's harmful to men. I don't even see how you could dispute that. I'm sorry, I don't see that as debatable. And I think that telling, especially young men, with older men, I don't think it's as harmful too. Although I think that this guy's saying he doesn't resent women, so good, I'm glad. However, you may not resent women. Don't you think that a lot of the guys who watch his videos, are having his content does feed their resentment? And don't tell me that Taylor himself doesn't resent women, because again, that's not debatable. Now, Taylor, to his credit, doesn't seem to hate women. So I'm not going to name any names right now, but there are a lot of MGTOWs who really do seem to hate women. And people are going to say, Ballface 8020, are you simping here? Why are you white knighting for women? I'm not white knighting for women. I'm saying you shouldn't hate women because it's bad for you, not because it's bad for women. Women are on their own, thinking they don't need my help, and if they did, they're not getting it. I can tell you this firsthand that and I've talked about this before, especially in politicals. I'm not saying you can't hate anybody. What I am saying is that hate essentially is always bad for you. Sometimes it might be necessary or even inevitable to kind of do what you need to be done. Like for instance, not hating Joe Biden, right, or Jill Biden would be a problem, right, because they're satanic, and they need to be defeated. Now, ideally, you could fight them hard without hating them, and that would be better for you. But, I mean, there is a practical purpose for hate. Hating women serves no practical purpose. You're hurting yourself and you're getting nothing out of it. Also, I would say hating a group, like a fixed group, is dangerous. Is dangerous and damaging to the person who holds those views. I would say that the exception would be hating white suburban liberals, which again is good. So with those exceptions, though, I would say that you generally don't want to hate. And even me, I can say that I don't think white suburban liberals are evil, but I don't really think I've gotten any benefits from hating them. I think if anything, it's hurt me. It's just about, like I said, trying to find the balance. But again, I think the real difference, obviously, is that we're in a war with suburban liberals, or with white liberals. I'm sorry. Not all of them live in the suburbs. There is no war between men and women. I mean, I'm sorry that there's seems to be some tension in the dating market. I'm sorry about that. But there's no real war between the sexes here. I mean, maybe in a place like Afghanistan there is, but not here. So there's no need for it. So anyway, I don't think Taylor the Fiend's content is harmful to men or women. It simply shows the reality of the greater chunk of the dating market. Well, I mean, I guess that's my concern again, is that I'm not sure. I think it's a very one-sided view of the dating market, and I disagree that it's the reality per se. I think it's one of those things that there is reality, there's truth in there, but it's not the whole truth, or even most of the truth. Sure, there are numerous exceptions, and I hope the best of luck for people who are out there trying to find this. Again, statistically, I don't think a marriage working out is, a marriage working out is the exception. But a marriage, statistically, it's more unlikely if you get married as a man. It's more likely that either A, the marriage works out, or B, it doesn't work out because it was your fault. Those two combined are more likely than it doesn't work out because it's her fault. Again, it not working out and it being her fault is a huge probability. There's a very high chance that could happen, but it's not more likely than not. It's less likely than not. Again, especially depending on your status in life, your income, stuff like that, and who you marry. I mean, I think that the real lesson from these statistics would be make sure you're marrying the right person, not don't marry. And this guy said, invest in YouTube Premium or learn to edit. Have some pride. Well, I do have pride, but there's no chance in hell I'm giving those Biden voters at YouTube any money. And there's and learn to edit. No, that's never going to happen. And this guy JD says, here you are with more dislikes than likes. Well, that's true, but that's only because people didn't know about the no downvoting rule. Now that if they had known about it, I wouldn't have any dislikes. So it's kind of really stupid thing to say, because how many likes do I have? So I have 11 likes and 48 dislikes. However, if those 48 people had known about the no downvoting rule, I would have no dislikes. So that's an 11-0 ratio. That's really good. That's pretty good. 11-0. Like how often? I mean, that's actually a ratio of infinity. How many views, like much bigger YouTubers than me, can't hit those kind of ratios? So, I mean, that is a really weak argument, and you've got to do better, JD. FOH loser. What does FOH mean? Fuck off. Oh, fuck out of here. Okay, loser. This guy said men's health increases with marriage, and then he has the laughing emoji. Is that why all single men are in great shape? Well, I mean, I'm single, and do I look like I'm in great shape? And all married men have a spare tire around their waist. Um, in my experience with millennials, it's actually the reverse. I would say the married guys I see are in better shape, but I don't know the stats or anything. Um, you're confusing men above 30 with men that are married. Men peak above 30, not because they are married. I think when men peak really depends on the man. I don't think to say that men peak above 30 is accurate. Um, I mean, in terms of SMV, I think it's definitely inaccurate. Like I can tell you guys, like, and I've mentioned this before, that when I was young, like I was like painfully skinny. Like I remember like a couple years after college when I saw some guys who I hadn't seen since high school, and it was like multiple guys on separate occasions were like the first thing they said when they saw me was Ballface 8020. How much do you weigh? Because I was just so scrawny, and like you think I'm scrawny now, you should have seen me back then. It was like I said, it was painfully skinny. I looked like almost like a starvation victim, like I had something medically wrong with me or something. And the no, I mean I had people getting on me. I remember even my mom saying like one day, like out of nowhere, like, "Have you been losing weight?" Because I was already like 125 or something, 125 at 5'9". So I was just like, just so skinny. And no, I hadn't been losing weight. It's just, I guess I was just looking particularly scrawny that day. And but I got much. So this is as a young man, 20 to 25 age. I got much more, like at least 10 times more, like romantic interest from women back then than I did when I bulked up and didn't look as sickly. Now I know, again, I'm still scrawny now. I used to be a little bigger back when I was lifting, but and yeah, I know I'm fat now, but I'm not like that fat. And I definitely look. I mean, my face doesn't look healthier, but my body doesn't look like I'm about to die of starvation, at least. And the but yeah, so if anybody was going to, like age like fine wine, it would be me, right? Because I went from looking like sickly to having a body that was still scrawny but not as bad. But instead, the interest I got from women went way down because I had lost that youthful glow. So I wouldn't say that men necessarily peak past 30 in terms of SMV. They might peak in other ways. But you could probably say the same thing about women. And then this guy said, "Wow, I'm impressed with your silly opinion. Terrible video." So I said, "What are you talking about? My video is awesome." And then he said, "It was terrible, honestly. I couldn't make it to the end. At the end, which is, you say yourself you have no intention of getting married, so are you MGTOW or a bachelor?" I said, "This did sums up my feelings, and I'm not a big Taylor fan, although I admit he seems like a nice guy here, my other Taylor bit." So I guess you just have to go in the comments and check those videos out if you want to see what I had to say there. You have the freedom to choose what you want to do with your life. Taylor isn't trying to stop you. Well, I never said that he was. Um, okay, here's my responses. I didn't say that he was. My problem is not his choice of lifestyle. I'm single myself. I'm saying that his points are mostly bullshit. Just because you don't agree with his points doesn't mean that they're bullshit. Everybody's experience is different. Most men know how to think for themselves. Well, I think Taylor said a bunch of things that were either objectively wrong or unsubstantiated. Again, like when he wants to say that marriage is a raw deal for men, like again, that's not what the data shows. I mean, data shows that men's life satisfaction goes up with marriage. So that's, I'm not really sure where he's at with that, and women's life satisfaction goes down. The When he talked about women being, not as invested in the relationships, but unfortunately, or the data show that women are 6 times less likely to leave when the husband gets sick or injured versus the reverse, to the point where there is, when women are diagnosed with cancer and stuff, that there's often counseling offered to prep the woman for her spouse to leave. So with that being the case, I mean, you're never going to show higher levels of commitment than staying with a partner who's sick to be their caregiver. And since women are 6 times more likely to do that than men, how could you say that women are less invested in the relationships? So I would say that some things Taylor said were objectively incorrect. And then he was saying stuff that was unsubstantiated, which is he'll say, well, a lot of men, he says, women don't want to get married. A lot of men don't want to get married either. And like with the implication being that there's this movement of men going on a marriage strike. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily not true, but I've never seen any evidence of it, and I don't see any data to back it up. You're making like a point where he didn't explicitly say there's a large marriage strike going on, but the implication was clearly that is the case, that men are done with women, or at least done with Western women, and men are walking away from marriage. And then with no statistics to back it up. Now, it's the case that people are taking longer to get married, and there are fewer marriages now. That's true. However, we don't know that that's on men's choice. It seems like it's usually because women can't find a guy who meets their standards. That seems to be more likely with our experience. It even seems to be more paired with what Taylor himself has said. Another thing is he implies, and this is going to be the way they get around it. They're going to say like, well, he didn't explicitly say it, so that's not what he said. I mean, everybody knows what he was saying there. But another implication is that women want to get fucked by Chad when they're young, and then are trying to tie down a guy for his resources after they've hit the wall. But that doesn't make sense, because women are able to get fucked by Chad until their 80s if they want. Second of all, women are, whether you like them or not, are human beings, which means that their interests can change with time. So the thing is, a woman in her 20s isn't necessarily looking or thinking about a long-term relationship. So getting fucked by Chad seems appealing. 10 years later, after being run through, she has changed. She's going to have changed, and she's going to have matured. Now, if you want to say, look, she was giving it up for Chad for 10 years in her prime, so I'm not going to touch her now. That's one thing. That's fine. But to jump to say that, oh, she's still that same Chad chasing thought as she was when she was 20, but now she can't live that lifestyle anymore, so she's trying to get some beta sucker. It's not that. It's that she's changed and her priorities have changed. She's now looking for a guy to build a life with. So she's not going to be as looks or status focused as she was when she was 20, when she wasn't looking for a guy to build a life with. She was looking for a guy to fuck her. So his things like his personality didn't matter. So, I mean, no, I completely, John Doe, I completely reject what you said. Absolutely, the points he was making are largely bullshit. And it's just, I mean, we're just being factual here, so you're way off base. I know this is long. I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. This is one last series of comments I wanted to address. This guy, Cypher, says, you mentioned the stats on critical illness and divorce. Gastric bypass sleeve band patients take their new body and hit the road at an alarming 90% plus statistic, so much so that therapy sessions for couples are included in the costs. However, I'd also point out that 80% of bariatric patients are women, not men. Remember that in the alarming 90% stat above. IMO, this demonstrates what's in their hearts. Dudes do this sort of thing too, I'm aware. The question is, would it be 90% of dudes? No, it wouldn't be. But the difference is obviously that a woman losing a lot of weight is going to improve her SMV in a way that is not going to happen for most men. Most men are not Chad underneath the flab. Most women, because women inherently have a higher SMV, particularly if they're not fat or not like disgustingly fat. So no, I don't think that's true. I have seen this happen though, where at least one case, it was a friend of my mother's, who was more like beyond morbidly obese. Like this guy was like as fat as the gluttony guy from Seven. He was that fat. Like he would wheeze every 4 steps, and he was just like insanely fat. And he started to lose weight, went on a diet and started to lose weight. And, after he had lost like 150 pounds or something, he was still insanely, obscenely fat. But he had been fixed up in a relationship with a woman, and who liked him, and she was nice, but he didn't want to go through with it because he had met her and they were dating, but he didn't want to keep it up because he wasn't attracted to her. And my mom, from her conversations with him, he said like he really felt like he had better options out there. He said like, because I've lost the weight now, so I'm going to be able to get more women. Not realizing that A, he was still really fat, and B, even if he got down to like, a ripped 180, his SMV still would have been shit because, he's a middle-aged guy, who's an average looking, close to average, might have been a little tall, average looking, basically an average looking middle-aged guy who has no SMV and, not really going to get an attractive partner, most likely, depending on like what exactly he was looking for. But so I think this does happen. You see, I think that this now granted he wasn't in a relationship with her before, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen. When people make a dramatic physical change, they often start to look at the world differently and start to think more highly of themselves, start thinking like, can I do better? I think a lot of people in relationships are thinking that even though they don't know it. We've seen it. I mean, there's a reason couples looks match, right? Because they everybody's trying to get the best they can do, and if they get the idea that, well, I can do better, then they start looking around. And I think this is a man and woman thing. I didn't realize how biased it was in the gastric bypass thing. I'm surprised it's that high. I am very surprised, so I'm glad that the guy pointed it out. And nothing I said in the video was meant to be praising women and saying that women are inherently loyal. Women are not inherently loyal. Absolutely not. I think that if you look at everything, and that women are probably, in general, more loyal than men, but that's not always true. And I don't think women being loyal is the norm. I don't think that. I think that people are people are generally, I don't think people are inherently bad, but I think that people do inherently have bad impulses. And often that's the impulse to be selfish and to really try to feed the ego, to overestimate what's available to them, and to prioritize the wrong things. Let me just give you one other example. There was this guy I was in school with back when I was studying to be a computer programmer or a web developer, and he was asking me, like, what should I do about this situation? Because I'm fallen in love with this girl in our class, all right? But the thing is, I'm still in a relationship with this other girl who I've fallen out of love with. But she's not, I mean, not only is she putting me up right now, but she's paying to put me through school. So I can't leave her until she's done paying for school. But I don't know like what to do. Like can I do that like in like do I am I now obligated to stay with her? Like do I have to leave her now since I know I don't want to be with her anymore? Because if I do that, I'm not going to be able to finish school and I'm going to have to sleep on the sidewalk. And and do I pursue this other girl now? So I told him like like I don't really have a good answer for that. Uh I mean, I guess like on the surface, I would say, yeah, you've got to end it, and but I don't know if I'd have the strength to do that. At least until I finish it. I would say that maybe stay with her until you finish school and then pay her back later or something. But once you get the new job, um, but I mean, what I'm saying is that this can happen to men or women. These kind of things happen. Because I mean, usually there would be a situation of the reverse, right? Because I know the situation happens in the reverse. Like a woman is getting, her boyfriend or husband is paying to put her through school, and she's staying with them just until that, and then once she graduates, she divorces them. That shit happens. Um, so anyway, here's what the comment thread is. I say that's interesting. I had no idea. Thanks for pointing that out. Do you have a link by any chance? And he said he got the link deleted, and he said it's actually 75% to 85%. I guess my bad. So I don't know if that's 75 to 85% of women leave or 75 to 85% of women are gastric bypass patients. I don't know. Then he says, you seem to have some areas of agreement with MGTOW based on your response here. Where exactly do you diverge from them, if you don't mind me asking? I said, well, certainly I don't have a problem with men skewing relationships with women. I'm single and I've always wanted to be single and will remain single for the rest of my life. I also realize, however, that I am an outlier. I would say that over 90% of heterosexual men need to be in a relationship with a woman to be fulfilled. Basically, I don't think that MGTOWs are being true to themselves, so they compensate by bashing women all day. And that's as brief as I can make it. Hammer Atungo, and here's what he said I thought was really interesting. I think that their criticism of women comes from a broken-hearted place. I agree. And which is, I think, part of the problem. Once upon a time, most men wanted somebody to love and build a family with. Well, they still do. The realization that for whatever reason it's not happening for them keeps them making content. Okay, I'm assuming he's talking about the MGTOWs who are making content online. There's also something to be said that men are raised to believe that they will be able to get a partner. I guess men are really say you'll be loved for who you are. Yeah, that tends not to work out. This is only true for Mr. 6'4", 6-pack, 6-figure men. It's just not what I see. Again, it might be true for Zoomers, I don't know, but for an older millennial, not true. The couples that I see are all looks match. They seem to have good marriages and good relationships. Your quote regular looking dude with average income only qualifies for 0 to 4 women. But what do you mean by regular looking dude? Like you said 0 to 4. Like I would say that like a guy who's a 6 is usually going to be with a woman who's a 6. A guy with a 5 is usually going to be with a woman who's a 5. And a guy who's a 4 is only going to be with a woman who's a 4. Now you have to take, I think one of the confounding factors is height. Like you can be a good looking guy, but women don't care as much about face as they do about height. And they also care a lot about hairline. So like a guy could be a guy losing his hair or even just having a bad hairline. That can like really drop his SMV substantially. And a guy being on the shorter side, that can really drop his SMV substantially, even though he's got other stuff going for him in the looks department. So that guy his face may be a 7, but since he's 5'8" and is balding, his actual SMV is only like a 3.5. and he would end up being with a woman who's in that range, and that stuff can happen. That's like a deliberately exaggerated example, but that stuff can happen. So to me, the couples I see, and again, even with Zoomers, although I don't know a ton of them, they're looks matched. So, I don't know what else to say. Not to mention women's behavior these days, in and of itself, much less to be desired. Yeah, I don't know if that's. I mean, I guess, man. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't know. So to me, women seem like the same as they've always been. Women's behavior isn't impressive, and neither is men's. That's what I think. In my experience, any woman with any sex appeal whatsoever acts like a celebrity. I don't know. I've definitely seen some. When was the last time I really talked extensively to any attractive young woman? It was probably back in like 2016, and they were fine. I didn't really get that. I don't know if maybe this is his part of the country, but they were fine. I've definitely seen that. The ones who are really stuck up and bitchy. I wouldn't say it was the norm though. Definitely not when I was young, and I don't meet as many now. But on the other hand, I might be not getting it as bad as some other guys because I'm so much older, so they might just assume that I'm not like after them or anything. Whereas like if you're a younger guy, like you're in your mid 20s or early 20s or even your late 20s, and you're talking to these attractive young girls, they may just get kind of do a defensive bitchiness that they wouldn't give to me because, like I said, they know I'm not pursuing them or anything. So I don't know. Your typical average man just isn't good enough. Well, I mean, again, I don't know. It depends what you mean by average. However average that she may be herself, she has better options with all the GQ men willing to use her for intimacy. Right, but most women, even when they're young, aren't looking to get fucked and chucked by Chad. They're looking for relationships. And the thing is that most young women are in relationships. And it's not like they can all be in relationships with Chad, because what women will not accept is sharing a Chad. There are sometimes they will, but they want their own Chad. So even with the Chad, they're not going to share. And they'll sleep with Chad, but they're going to be in a relationship with their looks match. I kind of wonder if part of the problem is you have a lot of guys, and I'm going to make a video about this, overestimating their looks. The video I want to talk about is where some Chad is life mogging an incel. The Chad shouldn't have been in quotes. The incel part should have been in quotes. And there's multiple things to criticize. It's a black pill video, but the thing is, like, the video is supposed to be like, only women want Chad. I mean, like, women only want Chad and stuff like that. But this woman was clearly herself in the top 20, probably the top 10% of looks. Tall, slim, blonde, very pretty, great figure. Of course she's going to be with a Chad. Is that what do you think most women look like that? They don't. So it's like, so there's nothing black pilled about that. That's common sense. Seeing that people with their looks match. I think that, people are seeing these, attractive women and thinking that that's what most women look like. And they don't. There's, even among young women, there are a lot of unattractive ones. There were unattractive young women when I was in school, and they haven't gotten any more attractive since I left. So I think that sometimes, just like, they say women only see Chad. So then there's fewer men that women are going to find visually appealing. That's true. But I think that men sometimes in the black pill, red pill community only see the attractive women. And how many, like, even of young women, in the West, how many are even attractive? Like, I don't know. Even young non-fat women, how many are attractive? I mean, I would say a lot of them are maybe like serviceable, but like they're not like necessarily. They're certainly not Stacy or even high tier Becky types. I would say the Stacys are like just like with men 20% maybe, and the high tier Beckys is the same thing as your high tier normie guys or your high tier Brads. And then, they see these people with their looks match and they say, okay, Chad only. It's like, yeah, well, obviously Stacy is going to say Chad only. And obviously high tier Becky is going to say Chad only, of course. But are normie women saying that for relationships? No, they're not. It's not happening. They're certainly not in relationships with Chad. They're either alone, or then they're dating around, or they're with a looks match. That's how it is. It's statistics, right? Nothing else is even mathematically possible. Okay. So there is an imbalance in the market. 4 to 6 women are able to put on a little fake up and make themselves desirable to the upper echelon of men. Yeah, but not for relationships. Now, because she gets those men, she believes this to be her league. Yeah, I think this probably happens. I hear what they're saying here. They'd rather have casual intimacy with those men than an LTR marriage with regular dudes. When they're young, yes, possibly. I don't know. It wasn't like that when I was in college, but maybe. As they get older, I doubt it. But I think this is going to be part of the problem. Years ago, I was rejected by a woman. She was dating a guy that cheated multiple times. When I asked her out, her response was, I'll probably be getting back together with Chad, the fucker's real name, and I wouldn't want to lead you on. She would rather share that man than have a guy like me. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but here's the problem, right? There's only one of that guy. No matter how many guys no matter how many girls that guy is fucking, he's only going to be in a relationship with one. Okay? So yes, she would rather get cheated on with him than be with you, at least at this stage in her life. But that's but if she's with that guy, that means all those other women are not with him. So those other women are either going to be with a guy like you, or they're going to be single. And most women are not choosing to be single. So again, most women who are in relationships are going to be with their looks match. It's mathematically impossible for anything else to happen. More power to you, lady. Enjoy. But you don't get to cry about it 5 years from now. Well, yeah, I agree that is tiresome. If they're I could definitely, and maybe I'm not empathetic enough in some ways, because since I myself don't want a relationship, I don't have to deal with the heartache that these guys who do want relationships do. But so I can understand where the frustration's coming from. I just, question is, are they dealing with it in a way that's going to be helpful for them? But you don't get to cry about it 5 years from now. Well, there's two ways. Yes, she brought it on herself, but maybe, and it's probably not true, but maybe she learned something from those 5 years. Maybe she grew and she changed. No, none of them do, because they have good men somewhere in their orbit trying to get with her. Well, yeah, that's true, I guess. They all do. Yeah, it's probably true. If you can't recognize it, that's on you. No, I can recognize that. I can recognize that. That any woman who's getting cheated on with Chad has got some orbiters who would be faithful to her. True. Hey, true. I agree with that. However, what I would dispute is that those orbiters are her looks match. If she's with Chad in a relationship, they probably aren't her looks match. So I think that's the missing ingredient here. Truth is, they don't deserve good men. I think that they bring a lot of problems on them. I hear what you're saying. I don't even know how to respond to that, because it's just too broad a statement for me to give any type of fair response. I know what he's saying. This is one common point that Taylor is always right about. Well, again, I don't know, because the thing is, if we're only talking about Zoomer women, I can't tell you anything firsthand. I can't tell you anything firsthand at all. That maybe, but again, I want to go back to statistically, because I don't know a lot of Zoomer women, but I do know the laws of mathematics, and Zoomer women, I can tell you this for mathematical certainty, 80% of Zoomer women are not in a relationship with Chad. Okay? So the rest are either not in a relationship or they're in a relationship with their looks match, because nothing else is possible. The 20% of women who are in a relationship with Chad are with their looks match. So, look, women are going to prefer getting cheated on. Not all, but generally women will prefer getting cheated on by Chad than to be with somebody who is below their SMV. That's true. Okay? Absolutely correct. However, I mean, and that goes for women. A 6 isn't going to be with a 5 just because he's faithful, usually. She doesn't, even if she's not a Stacy herself. But so her orbiters who are into her, they're and now this might change as she gets older, as she starts to value different things. I know I'm being really repetitive here, but I mean, because I'm being repetitive because it's important. And again, these MGTOWs and black pillars too are only seeing one side of the issue. They're forgetting about the whole looks match thing, and even I've done it. So because I mean they're acting like these women who are 6 are in relationships with Chad, who's cheating on them, and while they're turning down a male 6, and that's not happening. There may be some cases where that happens, but statistically it's impossible. So that's just something that needs to be said. Women, only 20% of women can be with Chad at a time. Everybody else is going to be with a normie, or she's going to go without. And you can't say, well, it's different with Zoomers because it's the statistics are the statistics. The same laws of mathematics apply to Zoomers that do to anybody else. So unless you want to tell me that 80% of Zoomer women are just avoiding long-term relationships and are just going to be in Chad's harem, then what you're saying is just, mathematically incorrect. Okay. And then he said one last thing. I'm not suggesting that the manosphere is correct about everything. I take issue with many things that they say. Much of the hypocrisy is around us daily. Approximately a year ago, Lizzo was in the news trying to get with Chris Evans, Captain America. Women supported that. Yeah, well, I mean, women are, not very smart. I don't think anybody's disputing that. At the same time, Jason Momoa was in the news supporting what was called a dad bod. Yeah, dude, women love that, as long as the dad bod, as long as it's on Chad. I wouldn't be surprised if women found Jason Momoa, or however you say his name, more attractive with the dad bod than they did it with his steroid bod. Aquaman being mocked for a dad bod while morbidly obese Lizzo is taking her shot at Captain America. It's one of those things. It's kind of like a chivalrous thing almost. Like Jason Momoa, like his money and stuff, his career is based on his bod. So him letting himself go is kind of like embarrassing. Lizzo, part of her image is being a fat pig. So, and then, going after, some attractive guy is supposed to be like, yeah, hey, body positivity. And there's body positivity is more for women, but it exists for men, and it's a cope for both. So, I mean, yeah, there's no question there's a double standard. However, MGTOWs, who are red-pilled, which means they understand gender essentialism, should know that double standards make sense when you're dealing with two groups that are fundamentally different. You wouldn't have the same standards for both. I'm not really somebody who really follows pop culture, so both of these things were news to me. And I could understand why this kind of stuff would bother you. But, I mean, culture's stupid and hypocritical. That's true. And it's stupid and hypocritical often in a way that's negative for men, especially normie type men. But, I mean, me personally, I don't think it's worth getting upset about. But, I mean, if you're just trying to point out that there's hypocrisy, I will give it to you. I just don't really see a lot of significance in that. The ladies that enter these spaces and debate these issues want to say that, quote, I'm delusional for hoping that the 5-6 down the street that is a single mom will go on a date with me. I mean, look, if you're a good guy and you're making good income and you're neurotypical and you're not too shy and you yourself are a 5 or a 6, I think you do have a good chance with a single mom who's a 5 or a 6. I mean, and if they won't, then I mean, yeah, I know that. I mean, it could be a couple things. One is you could not be a 5 or a 6 yourself. Two is you might just not be creating the spark, because that's the thing is, like, I talked about this before. You need to bring something in the personality. If you're not bringing anything in the status or looks, and you need to bring a lot of status and a lot of looks to impress women, like even normie women, then you need to bring something in, personality, which means that, you're not going to like just go up to a woman, even your looks match, and ask her for a date and have her say yes. That's probably not going to happen unless you're a very good looking guy, or you're a guy with a lot of status, or at least a lot of money. But you could, if, you meet her in some other setting and she gets to know you and, develops feelings for you then, like more organically. So, yeah. I'm more attractive. I'm delusional, but Lizzo, stunning and brave. Well, I mean, yeah, but dude, nobody believes that. Lizzo's a fat pig, and it's a joke. Everybody knows she's not getting Captain America. She's not brave. That's just some you glow girl queen shit nonsense. Nobody believes it. I'm a more attractive male though than Lizzo is a female. Yet I'm, quote, delusional for wanting to date a 6 single mom that works at the fucking gas station. Make that make sense. Well, again, it doesn't make sense. It's just that the Lizzo stuff isn't real. It's just media bullshit and maybe some delusional women on FDS. It's not real. Somewhere along the way, every woman with even a little bit of sex appeal became too good for the everyman, and they're not even kind about it anymore. Yeah, I mean, women can be rough about that shit. That's true. If you're lucky, they'll only laugh at you. If you're short, you might get that. It's the condensation that chases many away, the humiliation. Nobody just says thanks, but no thanks. I mean, look, that sucks, man. That's not cool. I don't know. Even if you do get one that looks mildly attractive, she'll treat or branch swing to a better guy. Well, this is the wrong part. There isn't going to be a better guy. If you're a 6, she's a 6. She's not going to get a 7, okay? It's not going to happen. So yeah, sure, that could happen. But you leave you for a better guy. Again, it's not possible because that better guy is with the better girl. Math. They have to feel like they're lucky to have you. They have to feel like they're batting out of their league. Otherwise, they get bored and leave. Well, I mean, again, I see relationships and marriages that are working out. So, again, I don't know if you're just talking about a Zoomer thing or what. I think this is a great deal to do with the, quote, failure launch situation that many men are in. See, I really don't. I was thinking the same thing, but I really don't. Approaching 40% of men are involuntary celibates. What does that mean, involuntary celibate? I mean, getting laid is not very hard. Unless you're neuroatypical, pretty much anybody can get laid. I mean, even I don't know if he's still around, but that guy Jack20, who describes himself as an incel, he admits he's gotten laid. It took him like a lot of effort by trolling the bars, but he got laid without paying for it. So so getting laid is not some super. It's probably harder than it used to be, but it's not some superhuman accomplishment. I think it's more that you're not getting laid as much as you want, and you're not willing to drop your standards enough. I mean, you can, like I said, depending on how low your standards are, you can usually find at least somebody. Approaching 40% of men are involuntary celibates. Wonder who the bottom 40% women are dating, sleeping with? It's certainly not their counterparts. Again, the bottom 40% of women are not dating the top 60% of men. The top 60% of men are dating the top 60% of women. Now, they may be sleeping with the top 60% of men. I agree, that's probably happened. I think a lot of them are just going without, but they are not dating them. They pick up on the fact that women do not want them. After realizing that, I think it's beyond that. I think it's that a lot of men have just lost interest. They're able to get their dopamine fix from Netflix, video games, and junk food, and they're not really motivated to go out and pursue women, especially, and it could be a thing like where it's just like, especially like, let's say they're a below average looking guy, and they know, like, yeah, I could go after my looks match, but I don't really want my looks match, so I can just jerk off to porn. I would rather do that. I think that has more to do with it than women not wanting their looks match or men or whatever. After realizing that they do not, there's really no motivation to do the adult things. Career? Why? I don't need to do all that. I have everything I need thanks to my Walmart job. Women dislike me anyway. I'll just stay in and play video games. Yeah. I think a lot of guys are there. I just don't think it's. I don't think it's necessarily because women are rejecting them, and I don't think that if a relationship with your looks match is something you want, that you should give up on it at this point. I mean, I can understand your frustration, but I don't necessarily think that giving up on it just yet is the right decision. Like, because it's possible that you go out there and try, that you never find somebody who you're able to be with long term and build a life with. I'm not saying that it's not, but if you're going to be unhappy anyway, I guess you don't really, I think, have much to lose by continuing to make the effort, or at least keeping an open mind. And even if you don't want to, I think that having resentment for women is actually going to make your pain worse. I think if you really feel like, look, like this is what I want, but I know I can't have it because women won't have me, then you need to be looking more at like approaching life more like a monk. Try to make the best out of it, as opposed to watching MGTOW videos, which feeds bitterness and makes the worst out of it. Longest video ever. I'm really sorry, but there was a lot of material to cover. That's all for now. See you in the next. Let's go, Brandon.